Hey, what's going on, guys? It is the day after Black Friday, so I had the day off, and I wanted to talk about my trip to Psychopathic Records. As you know, they had the warehouse sale, which is actually going on today too. Um, and I did the tour, so I actually got to go inside Psychopathic Records headquarters. Um, so I'll just kind of go through my day. And there's actually some big news that came out that Jay told us. Um, so I left at like 8 o'clock in the morning because it was a 3 hour drive. And I got there at about 11:20, I'd say. And, went in line and started talking to, everybody that was there. And it was kind of funny because there was kind of, I think, like a new fan there. And I was talking to him. And this other guy just came up and I was just dapped him up like, hey, what's up? And he's like, I take it you know this guy? And I was like, no, because that's just how it is. And so we're all kind of talking in the line about what we're kind of expecting and all that kind of stuff. And then Blase Rose pulls up because she's an employee there, and I look at her and I'm like, I think that's Blase Rose, but I wasn't 100% sure because I'd never seen her in person. So she went inside. And then she came back outside, and I was like, I think that's her. And then Shaggy rolls up and gets out. This is like, shouts out to the crowd and stuff. And, part of what happened here is that we're all chilling. We're all talking about what we think we're going to see inside. And we're all kind of getting our hopes up about what's going to be for sale. And somebody's like, yeah, man, they got 90 designs for $5. And I was like, oh, man. I was like, that's crazy. So we get in, and the first thing you see is that huge wall with the $5 shirts. And all of these $5 shirts are like Big Money Rustlers and JCW, and they like the decent ones that they had. Like they had that Violent J Duke of the Wicked where he's like dunking a basketball that came out. I think that came out recently, but that was in one size. And a lot of the shirts that were like that I would have considered buying were all like down to one final size, and the rest were all old like big, like I said, Big Money Rustlers, shirts, and then they had a couple like women's shirts. But over to the left, as soon as you went over to the left, on the immediate left when you turn left, there was a table with banners, and all the banners were $50. They had a couple cool ones. I didn't really want one because I didn't know where the heck I'd put it. But they had a dude I was talking to bought a couple supervillains ones, and he even had one that had like Lavelle on it. So I was like surprised they had those. And then after that, if you immediately looked over, you saw all of their like props that they had for sale. They had the coolest thing they had, in my opinion, was they had a big Riddle box Fago holder. I don't know what you'd call it. And actually, I was talking to the dude there, and he was like, or the homie I was talking about earlier, and he was like, yeah, man, if I took that, I just put a big glass plate over it, make it a table. And I was like, that's genius. I would have never thought of that. But yeah, that was like, they were like $300. And then they had a bunch of other different props and things. They had something from the movie Big Money Rustlers. They had different poster boards that were made to go in the Lotus pod that they were selling, like older ones. They had like one of Shaggy. There was one of Psychopathic Records. There was one of the Dark Lotus. I mean, there's a little bit of a pattern there. And they had one of Jay and Shags from like a long time ago. I think they still had dreads and stuff in the picture. And then they had their Hollow Wicked gear. And they had, let's see, what else was over there? They had like the action figure set for Violent J that he was like in on concert and tour. See, I already said they had their Hollow Wicked gear there. They had the shoes that Violent J wore for the Nobody's Fault video, and they had the Ringmaster's jacket that Shaggy wore. All this stuff was like varying prices from like $200, I think, to like $500, I think. I'm not 100% sure on those prices, but they were all several $100s. And then over further to the right, there was the huge wall, which is where I went to right away, that had all their jerseys on it and all their shirts on it that were, cool, I guess I would say. They had a lot of the Hollow Wicked stuff left over, different shirts from Hollow Wicked left over. They also had a new kind of like black and white Joker card shirts, and I think they only went up to Hell's Pit. You know, they had Carnival Carnage all the way up to Hell's Pit. Let's see. That was pretty much that wall. They had new hats that had the Joker's card on the front, and then the Hatchet Man on the side. Those were all the like I said, the first 6 Joker's cards. And then against the other wall, there was all CDs, vinyl, and DVDs, and that was that whole wall. And it was kind of like in a backwards L formation. I'm going to show pictures throughout all this. I took pictures of this room, but my pictures didn't come out very well. And Psychopathic posted pictures, so I'll be, I don't know, putting those over this or putting it in the corner, one way or the other. You'll see what it looked like. And then over in the very corner, I forgot about this part. They had the escape room, and they were running that all day. And I think it didn't do very well because I know for the next day, today, if you're watching this today, I guess, they were doing it for free. So I'm guessing that it didn't do very well. And so they were just like, all right, we'll just do it for free because we'd rather have people do it than not do it because we set it all up. Jumpsteady was walking all over the place. I said what's up to him. Oh, and over by the $5 t-shirts, they had a little case that had a bunch of stuff in it. It had like old catalogs from Ringmaster era. They had gathering pamphlets or books, you know, the little event books. And they had Jay's book. They had the Shaggy and Jay Pops. They had Morton's List, Enter the Echo Side, all the games that they've made. They had like magnets and stickers and little Hatchet Man, little charms, all kinds of stuff they had in there. You know, I think they just had every knickknack they could get out and put it in there. And my tour was at 2 o'clock, and I got in there. They officially opened the doors around like 12:15 or so. You know, always late. You know, everybody's always late with opening doors. So I had to wait a while because I bought my ticket as soon as they were made available. And when they first started doing the tours, they were only doing from like 2 to 7. And then they kept extending it to noon to 10, I think it was. The whole event was noon to 10. So, you know, I kind of waited around. I bought all the things I wanted to buy. Well, not everything I wanted to buy. I'll get to that at the end when I show everything I pick, all my pickups. Yeah, you know, so I was just kind of waiting around. And eventually when it started getting close, I kind of went over to where I was at. And there was this ninja there who was kind of talking to his friend. And I kind of chimed in a little bit because they were talking about the old Ringmaster catalog. And I remember back in the day when I had to fill out a little form to get shirts, you know, and send it out to Psychopathic Records. This was probably had been after 97 because I had a Malenko shirt on there. Yeah, and, you know, because there was no online ordering and you couldn't buy that stuff in stores, so you had to mail order it. And so, yeah, and I got a box full of shirts, the blue with the black and white Carnival of Carnage logo, the kind of glittery Ringmaster, the big face Riddle Box one. I had all those from back then. And, you know, I was talking to them and they're like, oh, man, you're old school then. I'm like, yeah. And so it was kind of like I don't know, when you're old school and you've been down as long as we have, there's kind of a kinship there. And so the whole time I was kind of chilling with them. We were just talking about, you know, different stuff. And even when we got in there, we were talking. But they took us around out front and made us kind of wait in anticipation by the doors. And I took a picture of the doors that I'll show. But yeah, and you know, so we're waiting there, waiting for the next group to come out. Eventually we start to see them filing out and we're waiting. And then finally the kind of security guy comes out and is like, all right, guys, come on in. And so it's like, I just had this stupid grin on my face as I'm walking through the front doors. You know, it's kind of something that like, you know, like I was saying earlier that I've been listening for so long and like, you know, if I would go back in time to like, you know, I don't know, 13-year-old me and be like, dude, one day you'll be at Psychopathic Records He would have been like, no way, dude. Did you get signed to Psychopathic? Let me get on with this. We walk in, and there's a little hallway, and then you open up into this. There's no really big room in Psychopathic Records. It's actually a very small kind of office space. So you kind of walk in and you walk off to your right, and there's like a little kind of opening where there's like a pair of steps, and then there's a room to the right. And so we had to get everybody in. I was one of the first people through the doors. Walk in, dab Violent J up, dab Shaggy up, and then everybody kind of goes through. And I walked all the way through into where the office was, because they said in their promo, go through our files, do what you want. So I just walked straight back into that office room. Blase Rose was sitting at her desk. Keegan the Creep, I think, was in there too. And I just walked through and took a picture of the wall of Karma. And then I walked back out to where they were kind of going to start talking about the office, or talk about how the tour was going to go and everything. And Violent J basically says, like, look, this is nothing special. Like, we didn't make this to show off to people. We were only, like, of all time, we were the third group to go through, or no, fourth group to go through, because they had Ballas, then they had the Noon, and they had the One, and then they had us. So we were technically the fourth group to ever go through Psychopathic Records. And so he's like, this is just like what you'd see in the back of any, Walgreens or something like that. There's nothing special here. This is just where we work. We didn't fancy it up or anything. This is just real generic. We're like, all right. He was right in a way, though. Like, if you were gonna bring, like, your girlfriend or somebody who's not really into the music, they would probably think it was really boring. They would say, there was nothing there, just a bunch of, desks and offices, because that's really what it is. To them, it wouldn't mean anything. But to us, there's so much history in that building. And it's not even the rooms, it's on the walls. They have, like, all their gold plaques. They have all their accomplishments are on the walls. Forgotten Freshness plaque, Shockumentary plaque. They had a plaque from the WWE soundtrack that they were on. They had, Malenko, Jekyll Brothers, plaques from, all the different stuff they've done. And so, yeah, after that, they took us, let's see, we did the Karma, or we didn't do the Karma wall first, I don't think. I think we went into the Lotus pod first, I think. And Straight Jacket was in there, and they were in there with the guy who was running it out for the $85 an hour deal. And, they were just talking about the room. There's like a big conference table. I'll show you the picture. The lighting is a little screwy, but it's because my camera on my phone is kind of crappy. But, we were chilling in there. He was like, talking about Straight Jacket and all the stuff they've recorded in there. And then they talk us into the booth, which is something they didn't do in Ballas. We got into the booth, which was really awesome. And, we were standing right where they all stood. And he said that the first album that they recorded there was the first Dark Lotus, if that gives you some kind of perspective on the timeline of all this. And he was talking about how, if Psychopathic Records was a woman, the spot where you can record would be the Ned. And, that was kind of where all the magic was. And at the end of it, he's like, all right, let's get the fuck out of here. So we walked out, because it's kind of a small recording room, and there are 15 of us, 17 if you count Jay and Shaggy. So I think there were too many people in the tour. I think they should have done 10 people, because even Jay was like, man, 15 people is a lot of people. And he's right. Like, there was a lot of rooms where we tried to all get in, and everybody always got in, but it was kind of cramped. I think if they ever do it again, which they might, I think they'd be better to do 10 people at a time. But anyway, we went in the Lotus pod, then we went back out. We went back into where the office was with the Wall of Karma. I took a picture in there with them talking about it. And they were just kind of, they had Rude Boy's desk, Keegan's desk, and then they had Blase Rose's desk. And while I was in there, I noticed there were some wrestling belts, like, up on the counter, or up on like the top of this cabinet, and I could just see the top of it. I didn't know what belt it was, and I was like, I wonder what belt that is. And they were just kind of walking around, talking. I didn't want to grab it while they were there, and so they were like, all right, let's go up, let's go to the next room. So they all start walking out, and I turn around and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, what belt? And I looked at Blase Rose, and I'm like, hey, what belts are these? She's like, I don't know, you know. And I was like, all right, let me check. So I pull it down, and it's the JCW Tag Team title. I regret not getting a picture with it now, but it was awesome just to kind of, you know, have that belt in my hands. Yeah, so after we leave that room, we go up the stairs, and we went straight into Jumpsteady's office, I believe. And you've probably seen pictures of his office before, or like a video of Jumpsteady at his desk. It's an office room, you know. I mean, there's not a whole lot to that office. There's not, like I said, there's not much in there. There is a plaque for, what's that guy's name? Evil Dead, I think. The Hall of Fame ECW plaque in there. Yeah, so like I said, there wasn't really much to say in there. Jay just talked about how hard Jumpsteady works, and how they have to tell him to go home sometimes, and how family worries about him sometimes, and how often or how early in advance he starts working on the gathering, which I have some interesting news about that later. Yeah, you know, I mean, that was basically what that one was. It was just, you know, kind of talking about how hard Jumpsteady works. He did say that Jumpsteady's working on a new game, and I think, if I remember this correctly, he said it has something to do with Bizarre Bazaar. So there's a new game coming for DCG. And after we left there, we went into, I believe we went into the room where the Juggalo show is filmed, with the big kind of like psychopathic radio thing that's on the back wall. You've probably seen it used, you know, with Rude Boy and DJ Clay and Shaggy. That was probably the coolest room in the whole place, because they actually had kind of the cool thing on the wall, and, you know, like the big Psychopathic record thing. And, yeah, in general, this is probably the coolest room. They had all the stuff come up. Jay did say that they're bringing the Juggalo show back in, he said, like 3 weeks. So I guess we can look out for that. They're revamping it. They're going to do it on more than Facebook now. So I'm kind of assuming maybe they're going to do Twitch, and maybe they're going to do YouTube. I'm not sure. They didn't say that exactly, but he did say they're going to do more than just Facebook. So the other two alternatives are those. And at one point, Shaggy was like, yeah, there's a curtain back there. There's nothing back there except wires. And so I fling it open, and they're like, yeah, they say there ain't nothing there. And then I look in there, and there's like a mannequin in there, like some kind of like thing. And then there's like a severed arm. So I pick up the severed arm and start waving, and then Shaggy's like, oh, hey. So they had everything in there. Like, you know, I took advantage of the, you know, touch anything, you know, go through anything, because they said it. So I was doing it, you know. After that, we went into a conference room, which was, you know, kind of generic again. I think on the wall, I have a picture of this. On the wall, they had all the, well, not all of them, but a bunch of the different covers that they'd been on throughout the years. And Jay was like, you know, we don't really save these. These are just the ones we had. So they had like the AP cover, the Circus cover, you know, a couple other different covers. Like Murder Dog, I think they were on one of those. And those are the ones I remember, because there were about 20 of them probably. And, you know, he just kind of said, you know, there's not a whole lot here, just this and that. And then after that, we went into Billy Bill's office. And again, it's just kind of a generic office. It was kind of funny because I asked them how long they had the building, and they're like 99. They acquired the building in 99. And Jay said, when we had money. And that's the other thing about this tour that I thought was interesting, I guess, is that multiple times Jay says, we're in debt. We're in debt. He says it multiple times. And I'm not really sure why he kept saying it, other than maybe to be like, you know, buy our stuff. You know, we're in debt. Help us out. I don't know. But it was strange that he kept saying it. But when we went into Billy Bill's office and the desk was there, he's like, Shag put in the meeting, he's like, this desk has also been here since 99. And you could tell it was an old desk. It was like peeling from where Billy Bill had been leaning on it like this the whole time. And it was, like I said, a really generic looking office. There was like a couch there, his chair, a desk. They said there was nothing in the drawers of the desk. So, yeah, again, another pretty much generic room. And they kind of took us through another back room where they used to have, what was it, like Fuck Off Radio, something like that. I don't remember, but they don't use it anymore, so it's kind of just a blank room. And then after that, we walked out over top of where the warehouse is, and this is where they kept all of the costumes and things. This was probably the second coolest thing we saw, because they had costumes from like everything that they've done. There was costumes from Big Money Rustlers, all different kinds of masks, different props, and you know, all the different costumes they've taken throughout their tours, different music videos. And they didn't show us because the warehouse was full of people and stuff now, but there's a room in the back where they have a green screen where they film different things every once in a while. You know, and so we get to that final room where all the props are, and there's kind of a big table in there. I guess sometimes they have conferences in there too. And they kind of open up the floor for questions. And, you know, nobody really asks any questions. I think I was the only one who asked questions pretty much the entire time. And, you know, they were like, anything's open, you know, you can ask us anything, we won't get our feelings hurt. And I so badly wanted to ask them questions about riders and different things, but I was like, probably not a good look, so I didn't push it. But I did ask, will they be doing a Jekyll Brothers tour? Because I really like Jekyll Brothers. And Jay immediately shot it down. Like, no chance. Like, he didn't say it like that, but, I mean, he was pretty emphatically like, no, we won't be doing that. And Shaggy was on the corner like, oh, well, we might. Jay's like, no, we won't. Shaggy's like, oh, come on, you know, we could do it. And Jay's like, nope, not going to happen. I was like, God damn. I love Jekyll Brothers, and I was really hoping they would do a tour with Jekyll Brothers. But they will be doing Jay said a Psychopathics from Outer Space tour, but I think he meant the Wicked Clowns from Outer Space tour, and they're going to do that in April. It's going to have the laser guns that shoot Fago. It's going to have the aliens that come out. It's going to have a similar playlist, which is a set list, which is awesome because that original set list is killer. He said they're going to throw some new stuff into the set list, but, you know, at first he said we're going to do the exact same set list, and then he's like, we're going to throw some new stuff in. But the original set list is amazing. If you go look it up, you'll be like, if you're an old school fan, you'll love that set list. So we're going to have Wicked Clowns from Outer Space in April, he said, which, you know, lines up because they're going to be back from Europe and they're going to have a little bit of a rest, and then they would go straight into the Wicked Clowns from Outer Space tour. He also said, somebody else did ask about The Gathering, and The Gathering will be somewhere around Ohio, Indiana, Detroit, you know, Michigan. They probably won't do it in Michigan, but somewhere in the Midwest, because he said, you know, we're not going to do it somewhere crazy. It's going to be around here, you know, and we're in Detroit, so it's going to be in the area. Because he said that, I imagine they're going to do it in Ohio again. You know, it could be in Indiana, you know, but because he said around here, he said he couldn't confirm because they're still kind of, you know, nailing down the specifics on it, but he said that they're pretty sure that's where they're going to do it. So, I brought my Ringmaster vinyl to get that signed. They had kind of a weird way of doing it, and this would be maybe my one criticism of how they did everything, is that it wasn't like at a regular VIP where you would walk up with your thing, talk to them for a little while, get some kind of like personal time, and then, you know, then kind of wait over and then get your picture at the end. This was just kind of like, throw everything you want autographed on this table, we'll autograph it, and then we'll take a picture. So you didn't get really any personal time to kind of chop it up with ICP at all, really. You know, I have to dab them up in the beginning, dab them up at the end, get my picture with them, and that was pretty much it. I guess they kind of figure, like, you know, you can ask questions throughout the whole thing, so you don't really need your own, you know, cool, one-on-one time with them at the end. But, I kind of like that stuff. But, it is what it is, It was, like I said, it was cool to finally go through Psychopathic Records. Like, it's kind of like a mech of sorts, Yeah, it was, it was, I had kind of a stupid grin on my face the whole time. It was really something else, It was, a little bit like I said, like it would be a little underwhelming if you were just somebody who didn't know anything about ICP. There's no, there's no giant hatchet man when you walk in the front door. There's no, it's not like super fancy at all. It's really kind of a rundown office building, just to be honest. It's really a rundown office building. There's not much more to it than that. The cool stuff is probably the Lotus pod is actually the one room that looks pretty nice. And then the, like I said, the prop room, and then the room where they do the Juggalo show. Like, those are the coolest rooms by far, because everything else, like I keep saying, is just office space. Your office, open office space, that's it. Yeah, after that, I pretty much just left, because I had, 2 hours more than that. They were running behind about a half hour. So I didn't actually start my tour till about 2:30. But yeah, after that, I didn't even really go back in because I had already known everything that they were selling inside. So I was kind of like, well, I left and I went to Rock of Ages because there was a guy there that had a jersey that was dope. And they actually have jerseys super cheap. If you're ever in Detroit for something, go to Rock of Ages. They have jerseys. They had a couple Hollow Wicked jerseys for like $70, like really, really cheap. Unfortunately, none of them were my size, so I didn't want to pick one up just to pick one up. But yeah, that was the end of it. It was wild. I realized that Detroit's not nearly as far as it seems, at least for me anyway. It's just kind of a wild experience, like I was saying earlier. You never think that you're going to get a chance to go to Psychopathic Records, and then you're walking through the doors. On the doors, they do have 2 hatchet men, so if you ever drive by there, you'll know it. And the other big giveaway, and something I forgot to mention, is that on the outside, there's a giant Wraith Shangri-La trailer, like semi-trailer. It's really faded and looking pretty old. I mean, it's probably been there for, 18 years, 17 years, because I imagine they had it made up before Shangri-La actually came out. Yeah, wild experience. What I will say is that they were selling a lot of the Twisted stuff for really cheap. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but they had a lot of the Twisted CDs were $1. Like, they had Most Tasteless for $1. They had, Cryptic Collection, Abominations, all that stuff for $1. I was like, I kind of wish I would have bought more stuff, or more CDs, because all their CDs were super cheap. $3, $1. Like, Fearless for Fury was $3. I bought a bunch of vinyl because their vinyl was only $10 each. Unfortunately, they ran out of Carnival of Carnage, which was the one thing I wanted to get. I guess I'll just start showing off the stuff that I actually picked up because I keep talking about it. So I'll start with my CDs, I guess. I got, let me pull up so I can see what I'm doing here. I bought Abominations. This is the Monoxide one. And I got the Opaque Brotherhood. This was $3. Abominations was $1. I got Head Trauma. This was $1. I got Blaze's Gang Rags, $1. I got Twisted's Cryptic Collection, again, $1. I got the Mudwater Air and Blood, $3. And the Hell's Pit with the bootlegged in Denver thing. Because when I bought this years ago, I bought the Bowling Balls music video one. It was like 3D, $3. And let's see, I also bought the Riddlebox tour DVD. It was $5. I bought, here's the other big one. And I didn't even think about these until somebody in line was like, oh yeah, I'm really into pops. So I bought the Violent J pop and then the Shaggy pop. These were kind of expensive. They were $25 each. I kind of wish they would have done like a package deal, because they're 25 and 25, so they're 50. I wish they would have done a package deal for like 40 or something. That would have been kind of cool. And then I got, I'll show off my shirts, I guess, now. These were shirts that I saw at Hollow Wicked. And, I mean, I didn't go to Hollow Wicked, but I saw that they had a Hollow Wicked, and I was like, oh, I wish I went just for that merch, dude. And this is the Michael Myers, Hatchet Man. It's dope. On the back it just says Hollow Wicked, Psychopathic Records. And the next one is another one like that, almost exactly the same, only my favorite, Leatherface. Dude, this is my favorite shirt I picked up. On the back it's actually cool. The Solace family, Psychopathic Records. That's really dope. It's really subtle too, like people see it, and I think if people aren't like 100% familiar with a Psychopathic, they won't even know the difference. And then I picked up a bunch of vinyl. Well, not only vinyl, but I also got these new hats. I was telling you guys about them. These hats are sick, and it's got the gold Hatchet Man on the side. Somebody said they liked it better without the Hatchet Man. I think that, like, you probably can't tell in this video, but the Hatchet Man is really, especially this next one. I got the last Carnival of Carnage hat. Because there were some resellers there, and this one guy, when I was waiting to buy this stuff, he had like 10 of each vinyl, like 6 of every CD. He spent like $500. Keep in mind, CDs were $3 and twisted CDs were $1, and he spent $500, probably mostly on the vinyl, and then like he was just stacking it up. But yeah, and then the Hatchet Man on the side, I really like this one right here. He's so sick. And then let's see, I'll show you the vinyl I bought. I got these were all $10. Hell's Pit, Tunnel of Love, X-rated. Mainly because it has the bonus track Mental Warp on it. Because honestly, I'd rather keep the I'd rather have the other cover, but you know, I want the bonus track on there. And then Terror Wheel, again, $10. And my signed Ringmaster vinyl. I didn't buy this there, but you know, I had it signed. Shags, I can never read Violent J's writing. It's always like scribbles. I think it says Violent J, ICP, Clown Love, I think. I don't know. I'm just guessing because his handwriting is atrocious. Yeah, so that was my trip, you know, there. I spent a decent amount of money. Not as much as I thought, because the jerseys that they had were basically like leftover Hollow Wicked, which means no first Joker's card. And then they did have other jerseys for the Joker's cards, but they were kind of a weird cut. I didn't really like the way they looked. And some of the jerseys that they had were actually cheaper on Hatchet Gear at that moment than they were at the warehouse, which I thought was unusual. The other thing is that they are getting a new website, a new Hatchet Gear. They don't like the people who are selling the stuff now, and I've heard people had the problem with them before about shipping and that kind of stuff. So they're getting a new one. And they're gonna put, like he said, they're gonna have like knickknacks and stuff on there, which I think, I'm just guessing here, means that they're gonna have the pops on there. I'm guessing that they're probably gonna put the pops on there, and you know, some other weird stuff. I don't know. When he said knickknacks, I was thinking of, you know, a whole bunch of different stuff. What else can they put on there? Yeah, so that was my tour of Psychopathic Records. It was over before I even knew it. You know, it was one of those things I was really looking forward to, and before I knew it, I was driving to Rock of Ages, and I was like, man, I really just did that tour. Well, I won't drag this out any more than it probably already is. This is probably a pretty long video. Thank you guys for watching. I don't know what video I'm going to do next. I think I might do a ranking of the Sideshow albums. I've been kind of thinking about doing that before. I talked about it a little bit on Mike Sears' podcast. But definitely, stuff is still going to be coming out, of course. Like I said, thank you guys for watching. Like the video, comment below, subscribe, and I will see you guys again real soon.